Hello, and welcome to the Splain. Dan Rothenberg and Joe Klosik, two guys trying to figure it out. Not the right wing, not the brosphere. Left of center, with humor and empathy.
Hello, everybody. Welcome to the Splain. How you doing, Joe?
I'm doing very good, Dan. How are you?
I'm fine. Anything?
I feel like that was fake.
All right.
I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I feel like my reply was like, "Oh, I'm doing great." I'm like,
Okay, I'll make it quick. I know we have bigger problems in the world. All right.
No, go.
I
Let's hear
have.
it. Bring it, buddy.
I'm on my second weight loss app, and I'm woozy. I'm faint. I'm hungry. This is why,
I
and
hear
I
you.
know I don't have a weight problem. I am someone who chooses to try to be fit and look good with my shirt off. I'm 52 years old. You got to find a project, right? So the point is, I put a lot of effort into it. What? What's funny about that?
Nothing, buddy.
I
Nothing.
put a lot of effort into it. Now, I was on a roll for like 2 years. I run a lot. I was coming in at about 158, which is perfect for me. I wasn't counting my calories. I was
Wow.
eating when I was hungry. Something happened to my metabolism about 6 months ago.
Uh-huh.
Like, have you ever
Yeah.
found that?
Yeah.
Something's off.
No, Dan, not at all. No, I cannot relate to this as a 56-year-old that will fight you to keep his shirt on.
Uh-huh. Okay. So
I
you
will,
get it. But the
yeah,
point is,
yeah,
for a long time, I was getting what I put into it. If I ate too much, I gained weight.
sure.
If I didn't, it was an equation. It was a
Yeah.
cause and effect. Suddenly,
Mm-hmm.
I'm kind of gaining and I'm careful, right? So I go on Noom, which is an app that tracks your calories and educates you and gives you a holistic view of.
They send me their commercials all the
Okay,
time.
well, this episode today is not brought to you by Noom because it didn't work. I'm starving. I'm dying. So now I switched to Lumen, which is the app that you breathe into it like a breathalyzer, and they tell you what your metabolism. They get, a couple hundred a month, but who's counting?
Isn't Lumen the fictional
Yes,
company that everyone works for in
yes,
Severance? Is it that should be a
I know. It's my second day of it, and so they put me on. So the idea is they do this carb swapping, high carb days, low carb days. So far, it's all been low carb
okay?
days, and today I'm supposed to eat 115 grams of carbs. Everything has carbs. I have to walk around with like a side of beef
Do you?
to gnaw on. That's all I can do. What am I supposed to eat? Anyway, so that you asked me how I was doing.
Wow. I'm sorry. And wait, and you said you breathe? You breathe into
Yeah,
this?
Lumen, you breathe in.
This is an
This is
app.
an app, and you buy the breathing apparatus. You breathe into it, and it gives you a nutrition plan for the day. And I don't have time to make a Buddha bowl with 5 vegetables I got to go shop for.
That's how you lose the weight.
Yeah.
You're shopping. You're walking around trying to find like bizarre vegetables. Well, I'm sorry, buddy. I'm sorry that you're starving in the first world because you're breathing into an
Hungry
app
chicken bowl.
that's telling you you're not good enough.
Exactly. And with both of these apps, here's the tough part. I'm a failure by 5 p.m. every night. But before dinner, I've exceeded my carbs and exceeded my calories and the days of every day. And bro,
Whoa, hey. We don't believe in guns here, buddy.
yeah. Welcome to the gun show,
That's
baby.
impressive.
Yeah.
Well,
I don't okay.
you're in great shape though. I mean, you gotta. Do you stop though? In all seriousness, do you stop and ever look in the mirror and go, you know what? I'm probably doing better than 85% of the men in my
No,
age.
because they get you. It's funny. You get on
Yeah.
their algorithm,
Yeah.
all you see is guys rip without love handles. You feel like you're in a community and you got to do better. And yeah, you know what?
Wow.
I can see like I've got good friends I run with. Yeah, I'm on the leaner side. It doesn't matter. You feel like you're these apps make you feel like you're
Yeah.
losing control. Like, well,
Well,
you're fit
it
today,
it's did
but
yeah, it's
tomorrow you won't.
digital peer pressure.
Yeah, it's a really good point.
Yeah.
You right. It's like whether you're going to the gym or doing these apps, yeah, you feel like you're behind the eight ball.
Well, if all they're showing you are pictures of men a little bit better than you, then there's always this carrot that's just out of
Uh-huh.
reach, right? So you're always, I mean,
And
motivation, I
speaking
get
of
it. You
that,
gotta, yeah.
carrots are high in carbs. I'm not kidding.
Well, that's why, yeah, and that's why rabbits run,
A
buddy.
carrot that I can't even eat it. Apples have
You
carbs.
can't even eat the
No, I
carrot.
can't eat the carrot. I can't eat apple. What am I?
Is there ever a point in any of these apps, like one day you blow into the app and it says, "Hey, you made
Yeah,
it. You're a
never.
great person."
Yes, your
Oh,
mom loves
okay.
you.
Your mom loves
I
you.
breathe
You're
into
doing
that.
good.
Everyone's proud of you.
Everything,
Just
everything's coming
take a
together.
breath, bro. You're good.
Now, if you'll excuse me, I'm gonna have a light snack. Just so I
Now on
can.
the other side of the spectrum, we've got Joe.
I got these. I got these from my girlfriend who loves Pop Rocks.
Isn't that
It's
cute?
like one of her.
And just
It's
for
adorable.
everyone who's
Yeah.
wondering, she's over 30. The Pop Rocks.
Yes, she's 44. She's 44. Yeah. Yeah.
Adult.
Yeah.
That's
And
cute.
she likes here's another thing, Dan,
Mhm.
and this is germane to the conversation. She likes a man with a little meat on his
Really? She told you
bones.
that?
She
Mhm. Really?
why do you got to say it like
Told you
that?
that?
Why do you
She
got
likes it.
She did.
That
She did.
reminds me of uh, of a line that teachers used to tell me when I was going to the small room. For
A line.
there's a lot of different kinds of intelligence.
Ah!
There's
Yeah,
the kind where
that's
you do
true.
well in school and you're successful, and then there's the other
Mm.
kind, and that's you.
But look at you now. You got a
Uh-huh.
private practice and you're blowing your phone for validation.
Yeah, a little meat on the bones. Good, good. I'm sure. Okay, so and I get. Does that mean she would like you less if you had less meat on those bones? Is that what that means?
Well, there'd be less of me to like,
Uh-huh.
Dan. I mean,
I like a
I
guy with
need
a
to
little meat on his
maintain.
bones.
Yeah,
Uh-huh.
yeah. I think the operative word there is little,
With a little, yeah.
right?
So,
Like,
hey,
yeah,
you look great.
so much
You
meat.
look great, buddy.
Well,
I'm
thank you.
serious.
Yeah, yeah. Let me ask you this as I have these moments sometimes where I look in the
Mhm,
mirror and I know intellectually, objectively, that I'm 56 years
mhm.
old, but I'm looking in the mirror and I cannot quite I can't make the connection between the face that's looking back at me and how I think of myself. You know what I mean by that? Like, all right, that's a 56-year-old face looking back at me,
Mhm.
but somewhere in my head, I'm still I feel like I carry myself and I present myself like a
Yeah.
25-year-old.
Um, I think that a lot of I think about aging a lot. We were talking about it the other day. Just it's less for me. It's less about how I look, and it's more about kind of like the show is over, or maybe
Yeah.
not being cool. And I don't mean cool like ooh, I'm cool. Cool is a state of youth that has
Yeah,
to do with
that's well put.
forging an exciting path, leaving a footprint. And
Yeah.
again, it's yeah,
There are times when I'm in a green room and I'm
yeah.
hanging
I mean,
out.
you're
I'm
around
in a
cool. You're
green
more
room.
cool adjacent. If you're in a green room of any kind,
Yeah,
you're
yeah.
pretty cool.
But I'm looking at all the young comics
Yeah.
and I'm smiling to myself because I'm like, I remember these conversations. You and
Yeah.
I would have these
Yeah.
conversations, about the state of comedy and what we're going to do. And, I see that enthusiasm, and there's a cynical side of me. And then there is also that side of me that remembers that youthful enthusiasm and the idea that anything is possible. And
Right.
I'm like, good for you guys,
And you know what? For some of our
but
friends,
yeah,
I mean, Joe, let's be honest. For some of our friends, anything was possible and is possible, and
I mean,
they're living that
some of the people we know made it.
dream. Or
They're living that dream.
when I'm looking back on what we were like, it again, you're not cool anymore. I don't know how else to put it.
This,
You're not.
I got to be honest with you, Dan. I didn't realize today's episode was going to be an assault on my self-esteem.
No, I
Joe, you're
mean that in a
fat
good
and you're
way.
not cool.
That dream, the young comedian dream, is
Yeah.
all about sailing to the stars. And here's what I've learned, which if I could do it all over again, I would just appreciate more the ability to have the
Mm,
dream. Just the
mm-hmm.
ability to be in a place where anything's possible and you're kind of rubbing shoulders with amazing artists. With That's the cool thing
Yeah.
about comedy. On the one hand, comedy is a coveted, difficult business to break into. On the other hand, you put in a couple years. Next thing you know, you're opening for Mitch Hedberg and Louis C.K. and you're opening for Dave Chappelle. That's what we did. You're around it.
That's what we
You
did.
go on tour.
Yeah.
I mean,
Yeah.
there's an odd
Yeah. It was cool.
accessibility to it all. Like you don't have to be in
Yeah.
a for acting. You got to be in a union and it's a closed set. You can have a good night and suddenly be traveling with fill in the blank. It
Did you hear that phone app? I'm a
There you
success.
go. Just
People
flow
like
into it.
me.
Just I mean, I try to think to myself when I'm feeling down, and I say to myself, well, I'm cool. Well, I've been on Comedy Central and NBC. That's more than the other dads.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
kind
Look,
of something.
we're as cool as cool can be at our age.
I don't buy it, but yeah,
And
sure. Sure, Joe.
anyway,
Okay.
before we get super depressed, what's our big
Okay,
topic
here's
today,
the
buddy?
topic. I'm going to bring last week I was thinking this is just getting depressing, man. This is the state of the world. It's hard to be funny. So I decided to talk about something uplifting, which is
Okay.
my first cancer diagnosis. Now, that sounds ironic, right? But in the day and age we're living, cancer is at least cancer you can get in remission.
Yeah.
You can be a little bit in control. And I want to talk about and I promise you this is not a bummer. So you got to make me a promise, Joe.
Okay.
During this whole
Okay.
thing,
All right.
I don't want to hear about how I'm courageous or any of that
All right.
bullshit, any of that cliched bullshit.
Got it. Got
I
it.
want to talk about I have never told the story of when I was
Mm.
48, perhaps years old, got diagnosed with cancer and just what that did to me. Because the weird thing is,
Mm.
it was oddly invigorating. And I have never
Okay.
quite talked about that and given my take on it. So
All right. Yeah,
there we
let's
go.
I would
Okay, I'm
love to
going to
hear
bring it
this.
back to um, the year was 2016, I think. Because 2016, it was 2015, 2016. I'm living in Lancaster, California without my wife and kid. We were in the process of moving to Portland. So
Hmm.
Colleen and my at that time young son were here looking for a house. I remained in California so we could keep an income going. I worked in Lancaster and I was renting a room with one of my um, coworkers in Lancaster. So I was in a weird, lonely place, kind of on my own, away from my family. And I had noticed like a lump in my stomach
Mm.
protruding. And granted, I want to say that's one good reason to be in shape. For what it's worth, I could tell that I had something coming out. What? I'm just saying.
Yeah, no, I'm just saying, like, vanity saved my life.
Yes, I was ripped, and it saved my life. Okay. It
Okay.
would finally. I went to a doctor and said, "What's up with this lump?" And you ever had an experience with a doctor who's like, they have a hard time hiding their concern? A million times in my life, it's probably
Oh
nothing or
man.
this or that. He's like, "Okay, we're gonna test you, and let's just go from there." He's using that kind of language. Let's just go from there. I'm
Oh
like, what
yeah.
are we? Why are we going from here? What's going on? What's the downside? Downside would be cancer, but it could be a lot of different things.
Oh
And right
Jesus.
away,
Yeah.
I'm okay. Um, and
Can I just
yeah,
interrupt you?
yeah,
I mean, I want to hear your
yeah.
story, but I'm just curious. Did he say it could be cancer in the
I
very
think
beginning? Did
so. I
he?
think so. I think he said,
Wow.
the
Okay.
downside, it could be a form of cancer or it could be an infection.
Wow.
What I took that to mean was this could be, it was my first moment of like, this could be some real shit. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
Were you in any pain?
No, none. Have never been
Oh, that's
diagnosed
interesting.
twice, never been in pain, never lost a hair on my head. 2
Wow.
rounds of chemo have come and gone. Nothing.
Man, you're a strong son of a
I
bitch.
guess. I don't know. Thank you. That feels good.
All right. So you get the you get the hey, we're gonna have to test. Could be cancer.
Mhm.
What's next?
What's next? Okay. First of all, let me back up for a second. In this place I was living in, and if you're listening, my former roommate, I love you, but I got to tell this story. It's funny. So 3 weeks prior, I had walked into this new living situation. Okay. Now, one thing about being sober is you can you can smell problems. You can, you know what I mean? Like,
Oh
if
yeah,
you've
yeah,
been
yeah, yeah,
sober or really overcome something that has involved having boundaries with people, and you
yeah.
don't want to, you get to a plateau and you don't want to go backwards. You value yourself. And so I'm sure whether you're getting sober or whether you've had issues with sexual predators, whatever it is, you could, yeah, not for me.
You can suss it out.
Yes. So I
Yeah,
walk
something's
in. I
going
walk
on.
into this place I'm living. Again, the person that I was living with, we all have our issues.
Just say it. Say it.
I walk in, I can see a guy's sleeping on the couch, like 3 p.m. on a Wednesday, right? Instantly, I'm like, trouble. She's sort of like, yeah, we're having some issues. And in my mind, I'm like, yeah, goodbye. Finally, the guy wakes up from the couch, and I hear this from the other room. We're going to do this in front of him? And I'm like,
Oh God.
it's like,
Yeah.
can I leave now? I'm like, I'll see you later.
Yeah.
You guys,
Yeah.
I call the person, and I'm calling my friend. I'm like, yeah, I'm going to find another living situation. What? Why would you do that? I need you. But I need someone to lean on
Oh
right now.
man.
It's amazing how really, really loving, well-intentioned people will dig your grave. Don't
Mm.
draw
Yeah.
boundaries. It
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
it's always amazed me. People with the best intentions who just might be in a different phase of life will bring you down with them.
And they were doing the same job you were doing, or they were in the same
Yeah,
field?
yeah, they're in the same field. And
Mm.
by the way, now they are actually absolutely thriving with the same guy, opened up a business together, doing great. Good. Whatever, whatever. Totally.
That's
Just
awesome. That's
in that
awesome.
moment, um, it's amazing how hard it can be to detach yourself from
Yeah.
someone who might not be in your best interest and they won't let you go
Hmm.
because of their current codependency or whatever. But anyway, I mean, this is the living situation I'm in at the time. So I unloaded it on my dad. I'm I did not tell my mom. I did not tell my wife because it's kind of like
Wait, and when you say you unloaded on your dad, you're talking about the
the
protrusion.
protrusion, like this is happening, and you're
Okay.
testing,
All
and
right. Yeah.
it
Yeah.
could
Yeah.
really
Yeah.
be. And you look back on things like this, and it all seems a little dissociated. But I'm living my life. I'm driving through LA County, working with foster kids, crazy life. I'm
Mm,
living in the place with the guy on the couch, and I go and I get it would be a CT scan, and I'm at Starbucks in
mm.
Lancaster. I don't know if you know anything about the Antelope Valley. It's
It's pretty
it's bleak.
bleak.
It's underserved.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
got probably a lot of unemployed people right now because government jobs are getting cut. It's
Yeah.
like a
Yeah.
big to drive home at the end of the day towards the sunset with that at my back. So I get a call from my doctor. He's got the results, right? And he basically said, yeah, these are lymph nodes. 95%
Mm,
sure this is cancer. This is some kind of lymphoma.
mm.
And for the I notice I'm talking and I'm trying to get information, right? And I'm crying, I'm bawling. It was the first time I've ever
Mm.
been bawling without noticing it. Like all my
Wow.
life,
And you're in the
it's been
Starbucks.
outside of Starbucks. I'm talking and I'm like, stop crying. I can't because you got
Jesus.
to hear him. And as
Yeah.
opposed to that type of cry where, okay, here it comes. It was just an ongoing, and it was the
Yeah.
kind of very genuine cry that really good actors can achieve when they're in the moment. You know what I mean? When an
Hmm.
organic cry from your depths. And I was in an acting class at the time, and I was always trying to cry. You know, kind of try to. What are you talking about? No, that trying to, and somewhere in my head, I kind of noticed, wow, I'm really nailing this. This is like I'm in there.
Is anybody else
Yeah,
seeing
can
this?
you,
Can
dude?
you record me right
Dude, look at
now?
this, man. If the cameras were rolling, I would get an Oscar, right? But anyway, I'm crying and I'm trying to get information. And here's the tough thing about getting an initial cancer diagnosis. You don't know. Wait, am I dead tomorrow? You don't
Hmm.
know anything. And
Oh, God.
doctors have a
Good God.
hard time meeting you where you're at. And it's not even I'm not even bitching about Western medicine. Like, you're just in shock, kind of. What is this?
Yeah.
And
What does it
I'm
mean?
48 years old. No, probably 46. What, I'm young. What is this? So you don't know the difference between this cancer, that cancer, what. And so I finally get off the phone and I call my friend Summer at Penny Lane Centers where I was working. Down the street, she's in the office. I said, Summer, I'm diagnosed with cancer. And I'm like,
Mm.
I remember going, what do I do?
Oh,
And she
wow.
goes, well, you're going to fight it and you're going to blah, blah, blah. And I go, no, what do I do right now?
Right
I'm
now.
in the
Mm.
parking lot of Starbucks. What do I do? Do I go home? Do I go to the office? What do I do with my feet in
Mm.
this moment? And she goes, come to the office. And I go, I got a quinoa salad in Starbucks. And these are my words. I go, do you go back for the quinoa? And in my head, I read when I look back, I registered that was my first joke post cancer. Do you know what I mean? That was my first. Let's bring levity to this. It was a little
Nice.
Seinfeld. Do you go back for the quinoa? It was
Well, now you do, according to your new
right,
app.
right. Quinoa's got carbs, dude. It's
Oh,
hell.
Jesus.
So she goes, go back for the quinoa, come back to the office. And so I go to the office, and here's the odd thing. I look back on that And somehow there was something beautiful about it because I was so, this is the best I can describe it. I was so in my body that I couldn't even, there was something amazingly invigorating about not even being able to know what you're going to do. I can't judge this. So much of our angst comes from self judgment and judgment. And I was
Mm.
so scared, but not a chronic fear based anxiety.
Yeah.
It's something
You were alive in the
live in the
moment.
moment. Yeah. And it did give me,
Yeah.
it was a moment of reckoning of this is what life is all about, being alive in the moment, even though I'm terrified. So the next day, it's kind of a blur. Okay. I start driving to Kaiser to figure it all out. I don't know if this is 1 day or 2 days or what. I'm just driving, trying to solve problems.
Yeah.
Something I'm talking to my friend Seth, and I'm like, okay, dinner tonight at 7. Like, one thing I learned about myself is I value dinner, eating at a good restaurant. There was nothing that was going to derail that. And I have this image of very dangerously driving and talking and shifting, and I kept making medical appointments, then calling him back, going, okay, we got to switch dinner to 8. But I was very, you learn what's important to you. And it
Yeah.
was like,
Yeah.
I was not depressed. I was like, just at the end of this fucking day, you and I are noshing. And that's all that matters. Jews like dinner, eating, right? So I reverted to that. If I was going to not have, if I didn't have dinner plans that night, I would have been seriously really lonely and bleak. So I was addressing dinner with the same intensity of my medical condition. So
Okay. I
I
like it.
get to one of the Kaisers I had to go to, and you don't know again cancer. What do is it in? Do I have? It's at that point I figure, oh, I have stomach cancer. No, it wasn't stomach cancer. The lymph node was in my stomach. It's
Hmm.
lymphoma is in the blood, and it makes your lymph nodes swell. Right? It's confusing. Is that a tumor? Is that no? It's a lymph node that will eventually go down if you get the cancer out of your blood. So I get to the office and I finally talk to a guy that's looking at my CT scan. Okay. And he, again, you don't know if you're dead tomorrow. They don't always
Yeah.
remember to say, okay, take a breath. So the guy is looking, I'll never forget this. He's looking at my CT scan and he's like, wow, that's like 5 lymph nodes. And he goes like this. He goes like this. He's like, God, I have never seen a lymph node that big. And he kind of got mesmerized. But I'm like, do you want me to leave you two alone? You,
Dan, this is a big day for him too.
I
Okay.
guess so. I guess this was a bit is what. And so yeah, I kind of go. So am I going to die? And he
Wow.
goes, no, 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 no. You can fight this. No, you fight. You're good. All right, whatever. And so this is. I'm going to try to wrap this up. But this was the amazing part. Now I have nothing but this in front of me. This is my life now. Biopsies and schmiopsies and needles and all kinds of shit.
Mm.
And I made this pact to myself. I am going to be the nicest patient ever. I am going to address everyone with absolute gratitude because it's going to help me. It's going to, that's the way to go. And I'll tell you where I got that. I got it from a client of mine. So I worked with these really underserved foster that kids that are proof that we're not born equally. I don't even know how else to put it. Come into the world with complex trauma and abuse that is going to stick with them, and they get served by a mediocre system at best. And so I was working with this
Yeah.
6-year-old, and at one point he needed to visit his bio parents somewhere, and he looked me in the eye with his big, and he said, "Am I going to get to go to San Jose to see my dad?" Just
Oh.
total vulnerable, right? And
Hmm.
in that moment, I did everything I could to make that happen. And I realized, and it's not because I'm a good guy, I realized when you address people with vulnerability, people might do their job because it's
Mm.
the right thing to do. I actually believe that. If you And what we do is we get an attitude and we get impatient, be like, yeah, I've been here for this amount of time and blah blah blah. I
Yeah.
just had this idea. I'm just gonna be fucking zen everywhere I go. And I swear it worked. It was crazy. And
Mm.
I have moments that were like spiritual. Like I have moments of connecting with people. I look back and I go, did that even happen? Like it throws your life upside down. Now you got to get disability. Now you got to do this. You just have to dive into it, right? And I had a moment, I went into a Kaiser office with my attitude, with my genuine, and I swear, a Kaiser office to do this or that. And the woman at the front desk looks at me and goes, hey, we've been waiting for you. And I swear, did that happen or was that just some karma I was living in? I was walking
Mm.
into, I had to go to a records room to get my records sent out the next day, right? It was the kind of room you go in and there's just a lockbox. There's just little buttons.
Yeah.
Not
Yeah.
for you.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's not labeled. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
It's You're not going to get good treatment. People are behind their lockbox.
Yeah. Yeah.
Go
Yeah.
in,
Yeah. Yeah.
and this woman was like, "How you doing? I really appreciate it." Just throw in the love, and this woman over went so above and beyond, and I
Mm.
kept finding that.
That's
It was
great.
like, it made me like Buddhish, like
Bu- Buddhish.
Buddhish.
So it's like Jewish and
Yeah,
Buddhism could
Buddhish.
combine. I mean, Buddha looks like he enjoyed some
Yeah,
meals.
yeah. There you go. So, and I
Buddhish.
can't help but realize that after it was all said and done, I went through the whole. Then I wound up on chemo. I just kept up this rockin' attitude about the whole thing. And the truth is,
Hmm.
there was something amazingly beautiful about the whole thing. And I realized, okay, the key is to take this and bring it into my life after. And it's cliche. The tough thing about having cancer is it's really profound, but it's all at the end of the day, it's all a cliche. It's all a one person show we've seen. Life is precious. Live for the day.
Well, maybe cliche, but when it's happening to you, it's profound and it's obviously a story people need to keep hearing. So, thanks for thanks for telling me
Welcome.
that.
That
I think maybe maybe that attitude of just encountering everyone with
Yeah,
gratitude and
right.
curiosity. Maybe that's also how we can meet the current political situation. Maybe that's how we can, show up for what's happening because it is scary,
Hmm.
but maybe, also I do feel alive in a way
Right.
that I haven't in a while. Like you know, a crisis can really be a moment when you really get in touch with what's important to you.
Yeah. And I think that is the message. Try to get into the solution and the love. And the tough
Yeah,
thing is our culture more and more is designed to separate. And so
sure.
it makes for bad mental health, no matter what you believe.
Yeah.
It makes for to 100% be critical and judge people isn't good for you.
No, it's profoundly unhealthy spiritually and physically, I
Hmm.
find. And I forget that too. You're right. I mean, it's easy to go into situations and start being upset if they're a little late. Start being
Yeah,
upset if you don't feel like you're being greeted the proper way. And you're right, people get defensive and then that thing that you want to have accomplished isn't going to even happen now because everybody's upset.
right, right. Yeah,
That's
it is
profound,
profound.
man. I
Yeah.
mean, that's good advice for where we are right now as a nation. That's good advice for anybody in crisis. That's just yeah, that's good, man. That's what that Well, you've just changed the trajectory of my
All
day.
right.
Anyway, have a nice
All
day.
right. We'll see you guys.